Welcome back to the Expansion Pack podcast, where we download this week's content and bring it straight to you. It's your boy Goop Master Flex hosting this week's episode, followed by my two wonderful co-hosts, starting off with Black Ice. Say, if you want to introduce yourself.
What's going on, people? How y'all doing?
Well, if that's a question for the people, I'm sure the people are feeling fantastic. We got some Nintendo Direct this week, right?
Yeah.
This is where that enters the crickets. You know what I'm saying? But of course, before we continue, we got to introduce the MAY25THXX. How you doing?
XX, god damn it! I'm good. Tired as always, but always ready to talk about games. So,
hey, it's never
let's get it. Decent conversation on the way. I think the show
can never be too tired for games, right? Like I said earlier, we got a Nintendo Direct, but before we start that, of course, it's an episode without our weekly buffer. So,
weekly buffer. That sounded kind of smooth. I like that. That was nice. All right. New host or other host. It's nice. Sorry, guys. So this week's buffer. Keeping it going with the trifectas or the triple threat matches. Master Chief versus Shep. Well, my fault. Master Chief from Halo, right? Versus Shep from Mass Effect. Shepard. That's how some of y'all might know him. If you really have a good relationship with him, you call him Shep because that's his name. You know what I'm saying? Or Zavala from Destiny. Those three are going head to head. Who wins? Now, out of all the trifectas we've done thus far, I think this one is the most even. See, this dude, you looking right now, Black Ice, bro, because you are.
He said even.
Nah, man, I ain't fucking with man. Anyways, right? To me, this is a pretty even one, but it's hard to come up with the answer. But I don't like it. I don't but it's probably the reason why I gotta go with Zavala is because the man is pseudo immortal, right? This is the reason why. It has nothing to do with hands, ain't got nothing to do with abilities. Zavala probably do got some guns. I ain't gonna hold you, Destiny, but the man's a pseudo immortal, yo. Like that's something that you gotta like take into account. You could straight Merc home, give him the best hands ever, and then his ghost just reses him and he comes right back just after like 15 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So like what you about to do to that? Like, but Shep also got torn to pieces and they put him back together, right? So he's also half pseudo immortal. Not saying. I don't even know what you would call him at this point. Man's just walking around just like some kind of biotic cyborg skin thing. Still kicking ass though. And then your boy Master Chief. Would you say he was 7 foot tall? You had the stats, right? What was the stats?
He's 7 foot. Like all Spartans are pretty tall. I mean, this man was genetically bred to be a weapon from birth. That's all he knew. That's all he breathed, slept, eat. He was a weapon. That's it. He's stacked. That's all I'm saying.
I was talking about the Halo series, but that's a difference. Not the series. I'm at the TV show. That's what I'm talking about.
No, we ain't. Fuck. Get that shit out of here, bro. Get that shit out of here. We're not talking about that. We're talking about canon.
Yeah, that's a whole nother buffer. Do y'all like the Halo show? Take a ball,
No.
10, 15 minutes.
Oh my goodness. In that case, that's Master Riz.
Oh God.
Shit. I can't. But nah, man, I gotta go probably with Zavala just based on the fact that he just keep coming back and being unscathed and could still keep throwing hands almost infinitely unless you do something about his ghost. The other two don't got that. The other two just simply do not have that. That's a very, very powerful thing in this fight here. Curious to see what y'all saying. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what you're gonna say, Manny, but I know Black Guy's had a couple of things that he was on. So you know what I'm saying? Let's see what y'all got.
Well, like it's hard for me to kind of like argue against Zavala or with Zavala just because I never played Destiny or any, read or seen anything about it. The only thing I know
You've
about
played
Destiny
Destiny.
is I played never played like it seriously enough to know like the lore and the story. I've only played casually with y'all for a little bit. I never touched the first one, and like the second was free to play, so of course I gave it a try. But like I said, like I never like really knew what Zavala's capable of. But if I had to choose like between all three, at least I know Master Chief and Shep, especially after playing the Legendary Collection. Like I think it's already almost 2 years, which is crazy to think about. But it's like if I had to go at least against Shep and Master Chief, it's like tough because they're both badasses, and I know Denzel's probably he's probably Master Chief all the way, but. I mean, I think Shep got it in him, you know what I'm saying? Or her, depending on if you pick the male or female. I feel like what Shep has been through, and like Chris mentioned, Shep blown to pieces, came back, still ruling the world. Not ruling the world, but like saving the world essentially. And it's just like it's Shep is like that character that you can never get rid of, I feel like you can say the same thing with Master Chief, but I feel like Shep might have a slighter advantage with like the toolkit that Shep has. Oh,
would get the work, all caps. Just putting that out there for y'all, because
I'm gonna go with Shep. I'm gonna be that one odd answer. I'm gonna be that one odd answer. I'm gonna say Shep. I'm not gonna say like it's probably close between Shep and Chief, but I'm gonna have to go with Shep on top. I think the toolkit's there for Shep.
Let me start this conversation off by saying that, Chris, you talked about Zavala dying and having to get brought back by his ghost. Manny, you talked about Shep, blowing up and having to get put back together. This man, Master Chief, ain't never died, bro. He's never died. He's never died. The situation has never had to happen.
It's plot armor.
Cortana didn't have to come through and be like, "Oh, let's put this man back together." No, because he's that dude. He's that dude. Master Chief is that man. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say about that. Now, I will reiterate my point to Chris. Shep is getting those hands. He's getting that work from everybody. Everybody. I don't care about bionic this, bionic that.
How can you not care about that?
Big
portion of his things,
bro. But when you factor in the fact that again, Chief is basically a bionic weapon in that of himself. Chief is giving him the hands, and then Zavala's giving both of them the hands. My pick ultimately is Zavala. Y'all are wild for even talking about anything other than Zavala. This man. Hold on, let me just say this real quick. Zavala is like Captain America and Captain Marvel mixed into one character. He is like Galactic Jesus. Okay?
That's a hell of a.
He's annoying as fuck, but he will beat both of them motherfuckers down.
It's not fair. I mean, like I said, I never touched it, so I don't know. But like we also talking about Destiny, the universe itself. So I don't know. I'm giving Shep a chance. He gonna find out. He a little smart. Shep a little smart.
I mean,
it's not even about the smart.
Very smart.
No.
Very intelligent.
They're all very intelligent. Like tactician.
But like, all right.
We'll just say they're tactical.
I went with Zavala too, but like my argument also for Shep, right? I factor in heavily his biotic stuff because when you play these games and you actually max out some of his abilities and stuff like that, this man Shep damn near got the Force.
Mm-hmm.
Damn near got the Force, and it's like, how are we not factoring that in? That shit is crazy what he can do after.
Mm-hmm.
But man, what? The psionic blast, the barriers, the grabbing folks and literally suspending things, and he could do all this crazy shit. It's like, what?
By that logic, Chief got all this like shit that he can have at his disposal too. Bubble shields and this, that, and the other, hooks and yada yada. Like by that logic, Chief has all that shit too. Chief has fought some crazy enemies. some like I don't know. I'm just saying, man. I just don't see it happening, bro. Like from
I'm looking kind of like at this as one of those situations.
hold on, pause.
Hell? Yeah, man. I don't get how you just don't factor this stuff in. This man can do shields and all kinds of crazy mess. And I guess my biggest thing here, right? Biggest thing. You're probably going to disagree with me for saying this, but I feel as though this is one of them situations where the fight actually has to go down, right? Because I don't know which one I truly would want to say would win. I'm not even factoring in Zavala in this last part. It's just Shep versus Chief, right? For me, Chief in this scenario is Batman. And then Shep in this scenario is like Superman almost in a sense. I feel as though if you strip some of the stuff that Chief has at his disposal away, Shep would get. Because I feel like he has a lot of things in his toolkit, a la a Batman. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like you probably need to flip those.
Really?
Right? What did you say? Because in my mind, Shep is Batman and Chief is Superman. Because Chief is just
really?
raw, like strength and speed and just like.
That's a lot of gadgets and shit, so that's why I gave him the Batman one. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like
Shep is all gadgets, like the biotics, all that stuff, his whole arsenal.
Body, like my point was being able to take some of Chief's stuff away from him that he couldn't use in a fight. You know what I'm saying?
If you take the most you can take away from Chief is his armor. He's still superhuman. Like it's at the end of the day, he's still superhuman. Like he's still big and strong and all that shit. Like, bro, let me put it to you like this. Master Chief survived a fall from space. He fell from a spaceship down to a planet, like we'll say Earth, unscathed. Like no hurt, nothing. Like didn't need a bubble shield, nothing. He was in his armor and he rode on like a thing that was falling down and landed and did not die. Like he is raw strength.
Was it a lot of atmosphere?
What do you mean? Yo, this guy. Nah, I would in that argument, I would say that Chief is Superman and Shep is Batman because Shep has all the gadgets and shit.
It's interesting. Yeah, no, I guess because I'm looking at it in a sense of if this man Shep wanted to suspend Master Chief in the sky and take all his stuff away, like what is Master Chief going to do in that scenario if he's fighting Shep?
Well, my thing is, what are you taking away? Are you taking away his armor?
Armor, guns, all that kind of stuff that like help him do what he does.
So here's my first question: how are you taking away the armor? Because the armor weighs like 2 tons.
Gonna do the psychic shit.
But his psychic shit is not that strong. That's what I'm saying. It's not strong enough to take away 2 tons of armor.
Yeah.
If you're telling me that Shep has shown that he can do a feat of like bringing a whole spaceship out the sky with his kinetic powers, he can't. Like that's what I'm saying. Like,
so you're telling me this man's armor is the equivalent to something like that?
Dude, you got to read the books. You got to play the game. I'm telling you, bro. Chief is ridiculous. Like it's basically like if Chief just started running through a building, it's like the equivalent of like the Juggernaut. Like he would just break through every wall and like it would just be bursting through things. He's ridiculously strong and big and fast. And that's his advantage over Shep, period. Because if you flip that thing around and let's say you take them both out of their suits and you take away the bionics and all that other stuff, this dude Shep is getting the hands, the feet, the elbows, the headbutts. It's quiet, bro. It's not even close. That's what I'm saying to you, man. It's not even close. Chief's tactical abilities are insane. Like his combat experience, like I said, he's been bred from birth to be doing this. Like, I just don't see it happening, man. I don't see it happening. I just don't. And on top of that, like you said, Manny, that plot armor is something different. This man, Chief, got plot armor for days. Like
we're gonna say
the stuff you see him survive is ridiculous, man. It just makes no sense a lot of the time.
Now we're gonna say this Master Chief is different for this episode. We're gonna say he's the TV version of Master Chief.
This is the TV Master Chief. He's done. Forget it. He's dead. He's dead.
He ain't good.
Nah, he's
Master
dead.
Riz, man. That's the Rizzler.
He gonna die with his dick out while he fucking whoever he's fucking from the show. Nah, dead. Fuck that dude.
That shit does not make sense, man.
She was horrible.
Hopefully, I don't know, because I obviously don't keep up with TV shows like that and stuff like that. But did that even get like?
They're gonna do another season.
Two?
I think you have to find some way to like refocus all of it and like just make it
like a soft reboot.
Yeah, just do like a soft reboot within that season and like have it be like, okay, this is actually Halo now, and like I don't know, you just got to find a way to bypass all that other bullshit because man, it's so bad.
Yeah. Poor Master Chief.
But to the main point though, I really think at the end of the day, Zavala wins it all because I think, like I said, he's got godlike powers, man. He's ridiculous, and he can, like you said, he can basically regenerate as long as you keep his ghost intact. But even if you do take away his ghost, he's still like, I just don't think those two have enough to like overcome him.
I can give you that, but god damn it. I feel like we talking about Chef like he's a piece of chopped liver. That shit's killing. It's killing.
Look, man, I feel like there's a little bit of bias here because you ain't finished the games, and I'm telling you, man, if you get through Halo 2 alone, I think you might change your perspective on what this dude is capable of. Halo 2 alone. I'm just saying.
Hey, people. This is one of them times we need some real comments. You know what I'm saying? Put it down below. Will Master Chief give Shep the work, all caps? Am I tripping? I gotta know. I don't know if I'm tripping. Maybe I'm tripping. I don't think I'm tripping, but maybe I'm tripping. You know what I'm saying?
I think Shepard is formidable. I just don't see him going up against these two, man. I just don't see it happening.
I'm gonna give Shep the benefit of the doubt. There's always that underdog that sneaks up on you. You just never know.
Man took out the Reapers, bro.
The Reapers.
Now, would you say the Reapers are stronger than the Covenant?
That's a whole. You're gonna take up the whole episode.
See, this is another question. This is another conversation, right? This man took on the Brutes, the Covenant, the Flood. Yo, Shepard sees the Flood, he's shitting himself, and that's it. The Flood alone, don't get me started, man. The Banished. You don't know nothing about that. Let's move on.
Oh my goodness.
Let's move on.
Well, y'all comment, please.
Put some respect on my man Chief's name, bro. For those of y'all who played both games, don't just be out here like, oh, I played Mass Effect and I love Mass Effect, so I'm gonna no. For those of y'all who played both games, let us know what y'all think. Thank you. You can at me. You can at me on Twitter, right down here at Black Ice 8. Tag this man May 25th too. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. In addition, am I tripping?
Yeah, if y'all don't want to, if y'all don't want to comment in the YouTube section or whatever, just hit us up like on Twitter or whatever. Also at XPack Pod on Twitter as well. Like we want to know. We want to know what y'all think. But also, we also want you guys to to give us your suggestions on verses for the next buffer as well. If you guys have any other questions you want us to kind of debate about a little bit, make sure y'all send that down to us as well. We're gonna table the conversation for now. This might come back up because this has been one of our more passionate ones. So this might come back up, but that's all right. Let's get into this week's topics for now. Chris, thank you for the buffer. Manny, thank you for your very wrong answer. Yeah. So it's all jokes. All right. So yeah, like Manny has said in his beautiful opening to the episode here. We had a Nintendo Direct. Yay.
Nay.
There's some cool things. Yeah. Let's just get right into it, guys. So I'll just rattle off a couple of different announcements here, and we can kind of go through it all. in my opinion, the biggest announcement was the Metroid Prime remaster. That actually just got shadow dropped literally right after the showcase, which is excellent. That's the second big shadow drop from a major publisher or major platform holder, I should say. So obviously we had Hi-Fi Rush drop with Microsoft. Now Metroid Prime's remaster. So hopefully, Sony might have a little something down the road. Hopefully that Last of Us thing, we've been talking about, that'd be pretty dope. That'd be very dope actually. Maybe shadow drop that at the season finale of the show. That'd be pretty fucking cool. But anyways, cool. Yeah, I mean, just keep the trend going, like shadow drop all the things. I like that. I there's been a lot of conversation around that. Some people were debating like, should they shadow drop Starfield because you could be doing a disservice to the game by not giving it a proper marketing cycle and all that stuff. I'm like, bro, and personally, I don't think that really matters. I think at the end of the day, if you have a game that's good enough, it kind of stands on its own, right? Like, in my opinion, the best marketing is word of mouth. So game comes out, people really love it. Like, for example, Elden Ring. When Elden Ring came out, I don't remember there being like a crazy big marketing push, right? There was a trailer that dropped. I want to say, what was it? Oh my God. Was it the Summer Games Fest? Not Games Fest.
Yeah, it was definitely in the Summer Games. It was that and then the other one at the end of summer.
That's what it was. Opening Night Live. Mm-hmm. It happened there. And then everybody was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And then like there was like the little beta. But like for the most part, it was dark. There wasn't like a crazy marketing beat around it. I don't think. Like I don't remember seeing a lot of commercials or anything like that. In fact, the only commercial I remember seeing was like weeks or months after the game had released, where like I think Israel Adesanya like had a random commercial for them. Like I don't know. And obviously that game sold tons of copies, Game of the Year, so on and so forth. I think at the end of the day, if a game's good enough, it'll just sit on its own merits. So I don't think you necessarily need to have like a specific date or anything like that, especially considering the game's going to be in Game Pass. So you may not be counting like sale numbers in a more traditional way. You're counting hours played probably at the end of the day. I don't know. I think it would be a really great thing for Microsoft if they could just be like, boom, shadow drop that shit. Like, maybe have their little showcase, outlining the game a little bit more and like giving that Todd Howard presentation. And then at the end of it, Todd Howard says, the great part about this is you can play it right now on Game Pass. And like, oh my God, this shit's crazy. They did it again. Like, you know what I mean? Like it garners that kind of hype and excitement for Microsoft press conferences again, for, like for anything that Microsoft does at that point in time now, right? Like, it elevates the profile because it's like, oh shit, like there's a chance that maybe something big could happen, like a one more thing, kind of like to reference what Apple sometimes used to do, at least Steve Jobs did, like one more thing at the end of the showcase that kind of tops it all and like, gets people excited. So bring back the shadow drop everything. I think it'd be great. But that was first announcement from Nintendo. Sorry, well, not the first one, but that was like one of the big ones. We also got a new trailer for Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And then afterwards got a lot of information around it. The fact that the game is going to be $70. I think they had already talked about the release date being May 12th. I don't know if that's new or not, but yeah, so that wasn't particularly new. But yeah, we also got new Pikmin game. And also, and amongst a lot of other things, we got some Game Boy Advanced and regular Game Boy games that are coming to Switch Online. So that's pretty cool. The other things are so random, like Advance Wars, a lot of expansion stuff. So like, there's like some new courses for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Splatoon 3 got some expansion packs. Xenoblade Chronicles got an expansion pack. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's just like a lot of random stuff. And I think personally, and I think we all kind of feel this way, so I probably speak for all of us when I say this, but there's a lot of content here, but like none of it's necessarily our cup of tea. But, I think if you're a Nintendo fan, if you're like a Nintendo diehard, I should say, because I consider myself a Nintendo fan, but if you're a Nintendo diehard, you're probably eating pretty good right now, right? Like they announced a lot of things. And I feel like they kind of, for lack of a better word, like shot off their last load basically because like, they're getting everything out of the way because they're trying to, eventually get that new Switch to come out. And I think a lot of this stuff is just kind of the remnants of like the Switch One games. Personally, I could be very wrong, but it just feels like it's. I said this at the beginning of the year, right? Like this was in our predictions episode. Like I think a new Switch will get announced this year. It'll probably come out next year, but I'm pretty confident it's going to be one that gets announced this year. And the more I look at Tears of the Kingdom, I'm like, how are y'all getting that out of the Switch, like the original Switch? It's like it's got to be something. Something's going on. It's just about time. The other thing too is this Metroid Prime game, like this remaster just coming out of nowhere. We still haven't heard anything about Metroid Prime 4. And I feel like that might be the perfect launch game for this Switch 2. And what better way to drum up excitement for a game that's been lying dormant for forever than to come out with a remaster of, like the thing that made it. I think Metroid Prime was one of those things that really put Metroid in a different category for a while, like for a very small while, because they definitely let go of it. Man, we talked about this all the time, right? Like that was one of the things that I'm most excited about was Prime 4, like them talking about it and actually seeing something about it, because it's like the only first party like first person shooter that Nintendo has, and it was pretty damn good back in the day. So, what do you guys think about this Nintendo Direct stuff? I mean, is there anything aside from what we talked about that you're particularly excited about? Or, I know we talked off camera about Tears of the Kingdom and, like it being interesting enough. But Chris, I want to get your thoughts on it because, we know you're the resident Nintendo guy here.
I love Nintendo. I won't say that anything that we saw today really like surprised me or got me excited per se or anything like that. But I will say, you might be on to something. I don't know if I truly believe that they're going to announce that we're going to get another Switch this year. Hopefully we do, because then that's crow that I would love to eat. But those trailers do kind of give me the vibes that, could support what you're saying, because that was the first thing I noticed right away, was that this Zelda trailer in particular, showed off a lot more of the ground level gameplay, I would say. The other ones was a lot of him and all kind of other bullshit. This was the first time I think I shot at, the environment, and it's a lot more detailed. It's like in this one compared to the last game. And I remember when the first game came out, everybody was saying, they pushed the hardware to it. This is a beautiful game. This is what we got out of it. But I mean, shit, bro. Like, we don't know if we could squeeze it. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, like, how do you go from saying all that, making it seem like y'all really was on the edge, like tiptoeing, and then you push out something that looks kind of like this? I don't know if I'm like just being bugging, or maybe the graphics aren't as nice as I think that they look. But then I saw the Metroid trailer, and I'm like, okay, they just look really clean compared to a lot of the other Switch stuff that I've seen. Then I watched the Pikmin trailer, and I said, all right, bro. Doing fun with these graphics, man. They're looking a little bit better than normal. Even Splatoon was looking a lot more detailed than I remember it ever looking in the past. The shitty ass game, but goddamn, it look alright. I'm saying? It definitely look okay. So,
to be fair, to be fair on your comment about the OG Zelda game, not OG, but you know what I mean. Oh my god, what's it called?
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild. Yeah. Wow. Like they say that every time when a new system comes out, right? Because it's like, all right, this is our first crack at a newer system. Like we'll push everything that we can push out of it now, but like that was 7 years ago, right? Like maybe just about. So like, there's a lot more. Once you get more time with certain hardware, you can probably find out certain tricks and whatnot. And plus, I'm sure like at some level, some of these Nintendo developers share some of the tricks that they've used to get more and more out of the system. So I can see them, by this time around, like definitely coming up with better graphics. My biggest concern is like, how are you going to push out like a decent frame rate at like 720p when you're supposed to be doing all these new things with the game? It's like, I don't know, man. Like, I just feel like I'm not going to want to play this in handheld mode. And for me personally, like the 30 frames per second thing, it's starting to like wear on me. And I know with games that are on the Switch sometimes, like they drop below that. and I cannot handle that. I can't. It can't be like I'm like I don't know. It can't get down to like 24 frames, 20 frames. Like that's just not cool, man. Like I need the precise gameplay. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Could be wrong.
Yeah, we're definitely spoiled with like, especially with modern day consoles with the Series X and PS5 with the 120 frames. So I feel like, we're just pushing that boundary of trying to get 4K 60. I know some games still running at 4K 30 and stuff like that now, but we definitely are kind of tired of that 720p switch. We need something new. We need an upgrade. And one thing I was thinking that's interesting, Chris mentioned how everything looks nice and beautiful and crisp, even Splatoon. And I know this is obviously a far stretch, but like, what if like some of these things are trailers made for like the new Switch? Like as if like they made these, like especially like Tears of the Kingdom trailers based off the Nintendo Switch Pro 2, whatever. I don't care what they're gonna call it, but I feel like that'd be like an interesting way to like sneak it in. But obviously, we ain't getting no announcement of Switch 2, so it's not like we're gonna get it anytime soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe
so
this year, but
if this is happening, right? If we are getting a Switch 2 at some point in time, when do y'all think that announcement happens?
see, I feel like it's gonna be after E3. I feel like it's probably gonna be announced around September, October for like a next year March release date.
My money is like not literally at E3, but in that cycle, like maybe a week or two after E3, maybe even pushing like July.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to happen on a random afternoon in June or July. And it's gonna fucking set the world on fire. Everybody's gonna be like, oh my God. Like they're probably gonna do all the smart things around it. They're gonna find a way to market it perfectly, because I think that's one of the things that they do a good job at initially, is like, I think the way they marketed the Switch initially was great, so on and so forth. But yeah, I don't know. I think my prediction is 1080p screen, a way to actually output to 4K, but like the equivalent of basically an Xbox One X. That's where I think they'll sit. And I think that'd be good for what they do,
Yeah.
I feel like you gotta at least like find a way to compete with the Steam Deck, because I mean we've seen Steam Deck play games like Spider-Man on pretty good settings, just running at a perfect 60 frames per second. It's not 1080p. I believe it's like around the 800s or whatever, but like, you're still getting that good frame rate and that good quality. So like they definitely do got to step up the game. And I understand like part of it is like the Steam Deck is like a beefy system, and I'm sure like Nintendo wants more of like a convenient system that isn't like you're carrying a fucking laptop with you all around kind of thing. So hopefully we do get our 1080. The only thing is, I'm sure if they're going to keep it like the OLED screen, they got to figure out battery life and all that, bells and whistles, and make sure it's like a, good handheld Switch. Because if it's a handheld Switch that only lasts for like an hour or two, like what's really the point? But even though like the last Switch kind of does last only like a little over 2 hours, but
if we can get our phones to last multiple days with 4K screens, Nintendo could get it going, bro. They can get it going. You get screens with variable refresh rates, so it can go all the way down to like 2 frames per second on like menu screens and stuff like that. That's one way to help save battery. OLED screens, one way to save battery. There's a lot of different tricks they could use, technologically speaking. I think they got to figure it out. Now, the only downside to that is you mentioned the Steam Deck, and I just don't see them giving a shit what the hell the Steam Deck is doing, bro.
Of course not.
Because the Steam Deck just not touching the numbers that the Switch is doing. So it's like, why are you looking at that to compete against? I wish the Steam Deck would blow the hell up so they could be like, all right, this is our competition. But I just don't see it, man.
It's gonna be powerful enough to run your basic Mario at 1080p settings, barely touching 30 frames per second, because they know that all they care about is them like, little kids or the older people playing off nostalgia.
I actually don't agree with that. I'm gonna push back on that a little bit, because I don't think that that's where their mindset is at. I think they just want to get like At the end of the day, I think it boils down to price to performance, right? Whatever it is that they can build that would stay under what $300, I think is what they're gonna go after, right? So if they can work out, because I think they work with Nvidia. If Nvidia has a chipset that can do that, I think that's what they're gonna go for, and I think Nvidia does because they got like what the I think the 40 series is like or 4000 whatever they call it 40 series. I think they have like they're just starting to make laptop chipsets. Like I think you could probably scale down maybe a 30 series or something like that. Yeah, I would say 30 series and find some sort of way to make that work in a mobile environment. I think you can make that work. Now it's not going to be like crazy, like ray traced and all this other stuff like that. But I think if they can find a way to keep it under $300, I think you'll get a good system. Because I'm not buying necessarily into the like, oh, well, they're only looking for nostalgia, so they're not going to put as much into the hardware. I don't think that's exactly how they look at it all. I think it's just a numbers game. If you can make a system under $300, you're gonna do it, right? And then you push your developers to get whatever the hell it is that they can get out of that at this point in time. But I don't know. I think actually, no. Let me tail that a little bit. You make a system that costs you $400 to make right now, $400. And then you take that loss of $100 for a year or so, but you sell it at $300. Take the $100 loss for a year or so. Then you find ways to get the parts cheaper, whatever. Then eventually you come out ahead. I think that's typically how the console business goes. I know that like what Microsoft and Sony were operating at a loss for the first couple of years or whatever, of the PlayStation 5 and the Series X. So I'm sure Nintendo would find a way to operate the same way, and Nintendo will almost certainly make money hand over fist once they announce the Switch 2 or Switch Pro or whatever the hell it ends up being, because they know what they're doing as far as marketing goes, and they know how to play into certain crowds, right? Like I think you'll have that Prime game that Prime 4 drops, right? And that's gonna take care of like your hardcore people, right? And it's like, oh, we have to have this game. And then I don't know what the equivalent or what the other end of that spectrum would be. I guess maybe another Pokemon game, but then again, like y'all said, like that's the third one in X amount of years. Like gotta find
maybe
something.
Maybe big on remakes too, because I know that at least with the Wii U to Switch, even though it is more understandable because the Wii U did kind of fail, like they're probably going to see a lot of more ports coming in from like the Switch to the Switch 2.
Well, I think their biggest thing, actually, I'm not sure, because I think you kind of touched on it a little bit there. The Wii U wasn't successful, so it was kind of like obvious, like, well, most people haven't played these games, so let's just port it over to a system that they have now. Yeah. And to most people, it was like new games. They weren't even thinking of it as being a port necessarily. Now you don't really have that luxury with the Switch going to the Switch 2. But the one thing you could do is you can adopt Microsoft's strategy of like backwards compatibility. And, if you find some way to have the silicon itself, like, the chipset, upgrade the graphics of a game that's come out X amount of years ago, it'll almost automatically improve the performance. So all those games I was talking about where it's like dropping down to 20 frames, all that stuff, they'll play proper, like maybe 30, 60. But I don't know, that could be something that they could lean into pretty heavily, right? It's like, okay, we have Prime, and then we have all your games that you've been playing for the last 7 years. They work, like the eShop just ports them all over. It's not even something you have to think about, and we can get better performance out of those games. Let's say, they find somebody to get HDR in there or whatever. Like, boom, the system has HDR built in, and while you're docked. So it's like all those games you were playing on the OG Switch, you can play in HDR, you can play in 1080, you can play at 60 frames or whatever. Like that's a good selling point too. So, well, just thought.
Yeah, thinking about it now, like they could possibly just like, because the games can output, like you said, 1080p when it's in dock mode, so it probably can be a little easier to optimize it for like a handheld mode, since they already have the assets in dock mode, and just port it into like the handheld version, just because like it's going to be a little weaker than the dock version, of course.
Yeah. I mean, shit, if you're talking about assets too, if you think about it, when they build these games, they're building them on essentially PCs, right? Like, I think they have higher res assets. I think it might be a lot simpler than most people think to just have the game work at whatever resolutions it is that we're talking about, right? Like, what did they say about Fallout 4 when that got, like, whatever update that it got? I think they were talking about, we already have 4K assets, and we're just gonna push them out to you guys, and now boom, that's it. You just have it in the game now. like not costing you any money or anything. So like maybe it's similar with Nintendo development, maybe not. Obviously Nintendo works on a very different plane than like PC and Xbox and PlayStation development, but maybe it's not that much different. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting thoughts, I suppose. But Chris, what are you thinking about it?
You guys bring up some very interesting tidbits, I will say. Man, it still kind of bugs me that we've been having this conversation because I still feel like this should have happened such a long time ago. But if it was to come out, in my opinion, I actually could see it happening right after or at least the announcement we were talking about, right? I could even see them doing it like right after this holiday season, and then just kind of riding the whole coast of next year into next holiday season. But it depends. It really kind of depends. I can see them doing it the way you guys said it too, just as easily. I kind of almost feel like it depends on the suite of games that they have ready to go for this holiday season and next holiday season. I think a lot. Because I don't know what they got in store for December this year. Because Tears of the Fallen Kingdom is May. Metroid's already out, you said. And then Pikmin, I don't know. I don't remember what it said in the trailer.
July 21st.
Okay. So I don't know what major hitters they got for the holiday season this year. Maybe they got some other shit planned for next year. I really couldn't tell you. But I think that will sway when they decide to do at least the announcement. Because I kind of see this as the announcement, I think, massive marketing. Yeah, but then at the same time, I if they were to be doing what you said, Manny, and kind of like giving us trailers right now that are for this console but not saying anything, I don't think I've ever seen them do that kind of rollout before. Which would tell me that they're trying new things, which is kind of exciting. I'm hoping what you said is right with that, but
hopefully,
I don't know. I got to go back to the holiday thing. Then definitely where I would put that announcement.
I think that makes a lot of sense too, though. I respect that. Here's the question for you, and this will kind of be like our last talking point, I suppose. But Tears of the Kingdom, $70, right? Do you think that has any play into this idea of, Switch 2, maybe being a little bit more high profile of it? Well, it's obviously a high profile game, but like maybe being like higher performance, getting that, maybe whenever the Switch 2 does come out, it'll just work on it, and then you're getting a 4K game and so on and so forth. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think that that's tells us anything at all?
That's a hell of a, what do you want to call it, an Easter egg, if anything, you know what I'm saying? Like, is any other game currently for sale on the Switch right now $70? This would be the first one?
From the reaction that people had, yeah, this it seems like it's the first one.
And I can't have ever seen, I don't think I've ever seen like somebody come out with a console and then 4 or 5 years into the console's life cycle, just increase the price of the game. 9 times out of 10, if there's an increase with the price, they say that right before the new console drop. December or November, and we're just letting y'all know right now that shit gonna be an extra guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of how I've always seen it done. So for them to do it in this way, that would be strange, and then it would be the whole entire eShop. That's $70, and then what is the extra $10 going towards? Like something good? Like what are we? Or is it just we're flat out just doing an increase? Like, there's a lot of little questions that I think that comes with this. But I tell you what, if there was any little hint or anything that kind of like really gives a nod to this thing might be coming out, it probably would be that. Cause make things weird. I'll say it like, and it makes things very strange. I can't see them releasing this game and it being the only game in the entire eShop $80 just because they decided to hike it up because of the game. That doesn't touch things that I've seen in the past. And then the only thing I could guess is that possibly they do something like how even Call of Duty does the whole generation bundle or whatever, where you buy you could switch over to The only thing that I get scared of with that kind of scenario is we've seen the kind of hits I think some of these games take. The development team for 2 different consoles. I hope that's not a for because shit, man. Like I don't want to see them go through that same type thing. Like for example, I remember when we were talking about what was it? Cyberpunk? Yeah, Cyberpunk. Yeah. But like, if they maybe had decided one day to just nix making this for the older gens, this whole rollout might have been a lot smoother. You know what I mean? And I don't want them try to do this same situation with Nintendo and then have that go sour because that would be really bad.
Well, yeah, no, I definitely agree. I have a lot of questions about how it would all work out. I think Cyberpunk would be a bad example for what Nintendo would end up doing because I think regardless, Cyberpunk would have had problems, right? Like, because it was still buggy. I think it was more a matter of time too. Like, in addition to the fact that like, y'all probably shouldn't have bothered making this on this system, but Nintendo doesn't. Well, with the exception of Pokemon, I suppose Nintendo tends to let their games sit a little bit longer and like polish a little bit longer. Pokemon's an outlier for whatever reasons. I don't know. I don't understand.
At least the last year.
Yeah, that is what it is. I think they kind of operate a little differently than like most of the Nintendo studios as it is. So the way I would see it is more in line with like, I don't know, God of War, right? God of War was on both systems. It seems like there's more of a scaling thing that happened with Ragnarok, where it was like you didn't literally build 2 different games. You just built one game and then, let the hardware scale down like what PCs do. And I'm not sure why more developers haven't been doing it that way, because it seems like there are a handful of them that do. Like, for example, Elden Ring seems to be on that wave, right? Elden Ring came out for both systems. It was cross-platform release, or cross-generational release, I should say. And there were no issues that I heard reported on PS4 or, Xbox One. But it damn sure played really fucking well on PS5 and Xbox Series X. And it seemed like it was a scaling thing where it was like, all right, if you're on this system, we're, again, treating it like PC. You get basically ultra settings on the next gen consoles. And then, if you're on the older systems, it goes down to like medium or whatever. So yeah, I think that's how it would make the most sense for Nintendo to handle it. I don't know. I mean, they could fall privy to some of the other problems that other developers have fallen into, but I just think Nintendo operates a lot differently. So, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, Chris, I hope if they do some outside this to the next gen console that we're only paying $70 once, and for the people who bought the game day one, get a free upgrade, because if you have to pay twice, that'll be a little ridiculous.
For sure. 100% agree with that. I don't think they would take the Sony route, but at the same time, Nintendo's not big on like, they're like, they sit in a weird middle ground of like, they're not really, I wouldn't consider any of their practices to be predatory or anything, but they also just don't drop the price of shit, like their games hold value for quite a long time. So
yeah, like Sword of Shield, Pokemon is probably still chilling at $60. Like, no, yeah. I'm not buying that game.
Yeah, like Tears of the Kingdom is going to be $70 for 10 years, right? Like, that's just how it's gone.
Yeah. I got Breath of the Wild on sale at Black Friday last year for $40, but it's literally, believe it or not, because I had to buy it through GameStop. GameStop had their own little sale going on, and they brought both of them shits down $20 a pop, and I was like, what?
Yeah. Get exactly. Here, it's so rare, few and far between, and like you'll never see like the eShop necessarily hold deep discounts like that. It'll probably be like maybe $5 off, maybe like you know what I mean. Like it's crazy.
Wait, see, all right. This also just gave me a whole nother question I gotta ask y'all. So like, if they're gonna do a cross-gen thing with this game, right? Wouldn't that then mean that they probably would want to announce the game or the new console in like April? Would that not make sense? Because in my eyes, it's like if you don't announce it then and then the game drops at $70, you're just leaving this empty space of a why the game is $70.
I agree. I agree.
So
That's where it's like a lot of questions there, man. I mean, to be real, right? Like all this speculation we're doing is probably 100% wrong. It's probably no like, you know, the $70 is probably just what it is because the game probably took a lot of time to make and resources and whatever, and they trying to make their money back at the end of the day. Because like again, games are very hard. Like people say this all the time, and people have been saying it more and more. Games are really hard to make. They're getting more and more hard to make. They're getting more and more expensive to make. So at the end of the day, it could just be that. It could really just be that. But I feel like there's something there, and I don't know if it'll get announced in April. I feel like that would make a lot of sense to me.
yeah. Or at least they got to acknowledge the price hike. You can't just raise like. There's some kind of something that has to come with this beforehand. I would say, right? No.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, the $70 didn't even like that. That conversation didn't happen during the direct. I think that came out after the fact. So like, I don't even.
Yeah, that's
know.
all strange, bro.
But then again, you don't deliver bad news like that in a showcase like that, right? You know, like you do it the Microsoft way. You drop it like 2 days beforehand, and then then you have the showcase, and all the bad news from beforehand just didn't exist because nobody gives a fuck anymore because you shadow dropped High Fire Rush, right? Like, it's I don't know. I mean, it's something to keep an eye on, obviously, because I really feel it in my bones that we're getting a new system this year, if not early next year. So the $70 is telling, I think.
Yeah, that's a big Easter egg in my opinion. Sure, because it's just so out of nowhere. Oh, it's so special that they get to charge $70 for their game. Why?
Yeah.
Why? You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, what is that?
I don't know. We'll see though. I mean, hopefully, I think we're at the point where we're getting like a Nintendo Direct every month, every other month kind of thing. So I mean, we'll see if the next Nintendo Direct has a little bit more information around like some of the stuff coming later in the year. If it doesn't, I don't know, man. It could be a tell that that maybe you hit the nail on the head that we're getting something bigger in the fall or the holiday season at least. So
maybe
we'll see where we're at. This has probably been the most like positive or at least like introspective conversation we've had about Nintendo without just like tearing them down. So like,
right. You with that? You guys set an expectation. Let Christian make okay, and it's just coming back. That's all I got.
Man, I'm not gonna disappoint myself. I know we're gonna be disappointed in the end.
That is my expectation too. But I'm always the optimist. I'm hopeful that like we get something, but history has told us otherwise. So it is what it is. But
please give us a game chat.
Yo, you gotta let that one go, fam. That's not happening. Just let it go,
bro.
Just let it go.
I doubt that'll ever happen. Your best bet is just chilling on Discord and hopping on the call.
I don't even want to say what I want to say.
Just let it go, man.
It's Nintendo, bro.
It's not happening.
It's Nintendo. You're gonna disappoint yourself.
Yeah. All right, but we gonna leave it here for now. It's a good conversation on Nintendo. We'll keep an eye on what they've got going on for the rest of the year. Yeah. Hopefully next week we get some other cool news from Sony. Like that's probably the only people we haven't really heard from this year so far.
We ain't gonna hear from them.
Who knows? I mean, they're busy out here doing everything they can to block this Microsoft deal. So maybe they might actually have something to show for themselves in general.
That is true.
At some point. I know I said this before, but at some point we have to actually have a episode dedicated to this whole Activision Blizzard thing again because there's been a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of stuff going on. Like this past week, I think the CMA just released like this whole thing about like how they're objecting to the deal. A lot of it seems pretty formalized. Like I think that at the end of the day, like a lot of people seem to have panicked from this. But like obviously, if you don't follow this type of stuff, it might seem more doom and gloom. But like as you kind of read through it all, it's like, oh well, there's like a path for them to get through like to get the resolution that they want to. But it's definitely really spicy. There's a lot of stuff going on. Like Microsoft requested documents from Sony because Sony's like one of the lead like objectors to this whole thing, and it's interesting. So maybe if there's no big news, we'll dedicate the episode to that next week. But until then, guys, Thank y'all for watching and listening. As we mentioned before, please comment down below. If there's any questions or suggestions you guys have for a buffer for the next week or into the future. We'd love to get your take on that. We'll definitely shout you guys out as well. So please let us know what you guys want to hear. Add us at on Twitter at XPackPod. If you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, all of our Twitter handles are at the bottom here. So, make sure to reach out to us as well. But until next time, guys, thank you for watching and listening. Peace.